Tonight, we're not talking about some work of fiction. No, this is the story of a real house on a quiet street, a story that has become one of the most infamous and, frankly, one of the most terrifying tales of the paranormal ever told.
This is the address. It looks like any other house, right? An unassuming home that became the absolute epicenter of a chilling story. It's a story that, for decades, has made people ask a really scary question. Can a place, a building, be born evil?
Now, you've probably seen the movies, but tonight we're going to unpack the real events that were said to have happened inside these walls. The idea is simple, and it's what makes this so terrifying, that some places are just wrong from the very beginning. So let's get into it.
To really understand the haunting that scared an entire nation, we first have to go back. We have to look at the event that stained the very soul of this home, the tragedy that came before the terror.
For 50 years, this was just a normal house. You know, families came and went, lived happy lives. But in 1974, when the DeFeo family was living there, one single, horrific night would change its legacy forever.
6. That's the number. In the dead of night, while they were sound asleep in their beds, 6 members of the DeFeo family were murdered, the parents and 4 of their children.
The killer? It was the eldest son, Ronald Butch DeFeo Jr. But his confession, well, it was anything but simple. He actually claimed that some unseen force, voices inside the house, told him to do it. He said it was his body, but his mind had absolutely no control.
So the house sat empty for a year. Its dark past just became this local whisper, you know? Then a new family showed up, looking for a place to call home, completely and totally unaware of the nightmare they were about to walk into.
They thought they'd found their perfect home. It was beautiful, spacious, and the price was just unbelievable. A perfect place to raise their kids. Now, they were told about the tragedy that happened there, sure, but the true, brutal nature of what took place in those rooms, yeah, that part was left out.
They only lasted 28 days. That's it. But the things they claimed happened in that short amount of time would become the most famous haunting in American history.
From the very first day they moved in, something was just wrong. There was this unnatural cold that clung to the air, a chill that had nothing to do with the winter weather. And then there was the smell, a foul, sickly odor that no amount of scrubbing could ever get rid of.
A week into their stay, that feeling of unease started to become something much more real and way more disturbing. And it all started with their youngest daughter, Missy.
Missy told her parents she had a new friend named Jody, but there were no other kids living nearby. At first, they just brushed it off as an imaginary friend, you know, something a 5-year-old does. But Missy insisted Jody was real, and they would soon find out she was not imaginary.
2 weeks in, the weird stuff went from just unsettling to completely terrifying. It felt like the house itself was starting to turn against them.
The activity just became relentless. Doors would slam for no reason, you could hear footsteps echoing in empty hallways, and that feeling of being watched was inescapable. George started having these vivid, horrifying nightmares. It was a constant assault, like something was trying to break them down.
By the 20th day, the house was in total revolt. The family described it as feeling like 100 invisible people were living there with them, moving things, making noise, and just destroying their home and their sanity.
On the 28th day, in the middle of the night, they hit their breaking point. Something happened that was so terrifying, they literally fled with only the clothes on their backs. They left their dream house and everything they owned behind for good.
Now, a story this extreme, this unbelievable, it's going to get some attention. And it attracted the attention of the world's most famous paranormal investigators, Ed and Lorraine Warren.
The Warrens were determined to figure this out. Were the Lutzes telling the truth, or was this all some kind of elaborate hoax? So they went into the now empty house, set up all their equipment, and started searching for hard evidence.
During their investigation, they captured this one chilling image. In a photograph taken upstairs, a small, ghost-like figure with glowing eyes seems to be peering out from a doorway. The Warrens believe this was the spirit of one of the murdered DeFeo children, the proof they were looking for.
So, after their investigation, the Warrens came to a terrifying conclusion. They said the Lutz's story was absolutely true. This wasn't just a haunting by ghosts. The house was occupied by a powerful, non-human, demonic entity, an evil they believed was directly tied to the DeFeo murders.
But even after the Lutzes fled and the Warrens finished their investigation, the story of 112 Ocean Avenue was far from over. It seemed like the house wasn't finished yet.
A few years later, another family actually tried to live there. They only made it 15 days before running out, claiming they saw apparitions of a little girl and other spirits. The house has been sold a few more times since then, recently for over $1 million. But the current owners, understandably, they refuse to talk to the media.
The story leaves us with this one really haunting thought. You can get rid of people and memories from a house, but you can't get rid of the spirits. They don't leave. They just wait, dormant, in the very ground under the foundation.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If you found yourself living in those walls, seeing and hearing things you couldn't explain, would you keep that secret? Or would you risk becoming the next terrifying chapter in the story of America's most haunted house?